This is 1 in 44, a presentation of Anderson Center for Autism. 1 in 44 is a weekly show devoted to autism spectrum disorder.
Good morning and welcome to 1 in 44, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, Chief Development Officer at Anderson Center for Autism. And this morning I'm talking with Zach Betkowski. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right, Zach. Well, from a Bozensky to a Betkowski, it's not like we got each other's backs, right? And Zach, you were the director.
Yes. So Director of Corporate Partnerships here with the Hudson Valley Renegades. Been with the Renegades for a little over a year now, but have been in minor league baseball for about 9 years. So very familiar with the industry, still learning my ways about the Hudson Valley, but looking forward to being with the team for a while.
Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. On a larger scale than that, it has been a true pleasure since I've been at Anderson for 15 years now in a multitude of roles. And for that time, and I'm sure well beyond before that, Anderson has really enjoyed a great relationship with the Renegades and Dutchess County State, Dutchess Stadium. And some of my earliest memories are being invited out into the field to speak even during April, which is Autism Awareness Month. And we've just always felt that all of the folks at the Renegades have always had a deep understanding and a desire to connect with the folks we serve and their families. And we appreciate that so much. So I just want to start off with a big thank you to your organization.
No, we appreciate that. And I think, a lot of people ask us all the time, oh, it must be so cool that you work in baseball. And that is very cool for us. Like, it's great to come to a baseball field every day. But at the end of the day, we don't ever, quote unquote, sell the baseball. It's always affordable family fun. We're all about the experience here. And if fans leave the ballpark at the end of a game and say, who won the game? I don't even know. We've done our job that day. As long as they're leaving with a smile on, that's what we care about. So,
well, that's awesome. And I think that's a great way to approach anything that you love and that you want other people to love on a deep sort of personal level. And that's the feedback I get too. I've also brought my own children to several games. And I can tell you that, between the games on the field and the fireworks and the food and the ice cream and the friendliness of everybody, we've certainly left with, I don't even know if half the time my kids always knew that there was a baseball game happening. I happen to like watching baseball, but it was definitely always a great experience and so cool that it's so local. So before we get into the interview on specific topics that we're talking about today, just want to encourage people who can hear this podcast and even people that who are maybe from farther away to come out for a game this season. It's a lot of fun. And everybody I've ever worked with and communicated with in your organization has been wonderful and accommodating. So
yeah, we really appreciate it. And we've really liked working with the Anderson Center too. It's been a tremendous partnership from a community standpoint, and we appreciate your support. So please, we would love to have everyone to come out. Great.
All right. So now that we've established that there is a love fest between Anderson and the Renegades, which we want to continue, let me ask you about something pretty new that at least one group of Anderson folks have had the chance to experience, and I'm sure several others. But I want to hear all about your new sensory safe suite at the stadium.
Yeah, so this is probably the thing that, a lot of people were like, what's new at the ballpark? This was the thing that myself and several of my colleagues were probably the most excited about this year. So first, I have to give a shout out to our partners over at Curemark. So Curemark is a biopharmaceutical company that focuses on developing theories for treatment of neurological and other disorders. So one of their primary areas of focus is autism. They also focus on ADHD, schizophrenia, Parkinson's, addiction, but autism has kind of been at the forefront of a lot of their clinical trials. So I had noticed that they had sensory safe rooms in other minor league stadiums in the Northeast, particularly with our friends over at the Brooklyn Cyclones and then our sister club with the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, a AAA affiliate of the Yankees. So figured, hey, it's worth reaching out, seeing what that's all about, and if that might be something we can adapt here at our ballpark. So I had a very great initial conversation with Dr. Joan Fallon, who's the CEO of Curemark, and kind of just listened a little bit about what their goals were, the team at Curemark, and why it's so important for them to have these spaces available to families at professional stadiums. And we thought it was a great idea. We had the ability to do it, and a few conversations later, we were able to kind of figure out what are all the tools and metrics needed to make sure that it is sensory safe. And it's not just something that we say and people come out and they're like, oh, okay, you have a puzzle on the table. That doesn't make it sensory, safe. We want to make sure that it's truly not an overstimulating environment and it can be kind of an intimate space for people in a safe way. So it was really important for us to share the Renegades experience in this safe, accommodating way. And I think we've kind of encapsulated the essence of that with, just designing the room. So we worked with, there's a company based out of Pennsylvania called the Fun and Function. If you look them up on Google and you go on their website, they basically have a bunch of, I guess for lack of a better term, toys that are specially designed for people, for individuals on the autism spectrum. So those include light up tents and gel floor tiles that when you step on them, they kind of shift around, and wall mount puzzles, giant ball pits, things of that nature that are very fun, can be stimulating, but not overwhelming. So, for us, we have Suite 8 in the suite level. So you can take the elevator. As soon as you get off the elevator, it's the first suite on your left, and you walk in the space and it's just a giant playroom basically. So it's climate controlled. It's noise proof too. So you can kind of control the stadium volume if you'd like it to go louder or softer. We encourage, families to kind of bring additional things that they may need for their family members too, to make it more of a sensory safe space. But we feel like we've done a decent job at least, and we're still improving and taking feedback from families that have used the space, but trying to make it truly a sensory safe and accommodating space for all Renegades home games. And lucky to say so far, we have filled every game we've had so far, and the wait list is growing by the day. So definitely we're super excited for the remainder of the season. We're certainly looking to make tweaks and improvements along the way, but it's very new for us. And again, can't say how excited we are.
Great story. Thank you for the explanation. And I had the chance to see some pictures, which I think we probably posted on Anderson's social media platform. So if you want to run there and grab some, I'm sure you can share them, but also listeners, if you want to get a sense of what it looks like, at least from our perspective, you can definitely check that out. You mentioned that there's a waiting list. How would somebody who wants to use the space, whether it's an organization like Anderson or a family coming to a game, how do they go about getting that reserved?
Yeah, great question. So the best way to go about doing it is if you go to hvrenegades.com. So again, hvrenegades.com. On our community tab, there's a drop down that says Sensory Safe Suite. And on that landing page is a form that you can fill out. It's basically an application form that just kind of describes your situation. It asks for your preferences. We're really conscious of people's preferences and, thresholds with interactions and things of that nature. So on that form, it's just, basic family information, but also if you'd like a mascot visit or not during your time there, or if you're okay with a photographer coming through or not, if you'd like personal weight service or not. Like, we want to make sure that we're not surprising anybody. We want everyone to be on the same page so that they can have the experience that's custom to them. Everybody's functioning different on the spectrum, as we know, and we want to make sure that we're, if someone's ultra sensitive to interactions, then we're going to stay away from the suite and let them kind of do their thing for the game. And if people encourage and want those interactions because they know that it'll make for great photos and great memories, we're happy to provide those as well. But the best way to go about doing it, hvrenegades.com, the community tab where it says Sensory Safe Suite. Marcella Costello, who's our community partnerships manager, is kind of spearheading the whole process of getting families signed up. And again, like I mentioned before, we haven't gone a game yet, knock on wood, with not having anyone in the suite, and I don't anticipate that being the case at any point for 2022. So get it while you can. Make sure you at least get your name in the hat, and we will do our best to accommodate as many possible families as we can.
That's so cool. I love that you are taking the time not just to add to create a space that has maybe some sensory objects and, like you said, puzzles and the light up floor and things like that, but that you're also taking the time to think about the experiences that oftentimes people don't think about. Like, I'm used to, of course, the mascot's coming around. That's what the mascot does. But you have the option of saying, you know what, it's going to be too much. It's going to overwhelm. And maybe I'm going to take my neurotypical children out to the rest of the ballpark to see the mascot, but we're going to feel comfortable that that's not going to burst in and, surprise anybody. I think that those are those things that I would call relatively simple, I would hope, but also so impactful for a family that would be thinking about all of those little details before deciding that they could take their whole family out for a family fun experience like this. So awesome.
100%. And, I think one other thing we found too is it's been very intimate so far. So we really haven't had more than, I would say, 6 to 8 people in the suite at any time. It's really just primarily been one family at a time. I think that's another thing that we're, again, as we make tweaks along the way, we're open to if maybe 2 families want to converge on the same date and they're okay with being, intimate in the same space with another family, we'll happily accommodate that. We just want to make sure we're asking the questions, and we'll always double check the day of, because maybe they come to the game and the individual that's on the spectrum is having a bad day. And, maybe that mascot visit at the time when you filled out the form seemed like a good idea, but because things aren't going the way you thought when you left the house, we can always cancel that or, make adjustments on the fly.
So that's so great, because so many families tell me on a regular basis that flexibility is key to successful outcomes for them, especially when it comes to social opportunities, restaurants, vacations, sports events. So the fact that you're building that into your process to allow for flexibility without judgment also, I'm sure, goes a long way. Quick question before we finish up this first part of the interview today. Is there a cost to utilize this space in addition to ticket prices?
It's completely free. So that's the beauty of our partners at Curemark, is they were really clear that they wanted this to be an opportunity that we know for a fact there's families that have not come to a Renegades game in years because they simply just can't make it out of the house because of the members in their family and their sensitivity to big crowds and loud noises. So they were very clear with us at Curemark that they wanted this to be a free opportunity, and they made sure that happened. So it's completely free to anybody that'd like to come out. There's no minimum or maximum requirements necessarily. So all we ask of you is just fill out the application form on our website, and from there we'll do our best to accommodate as many families as we can. And if we don't get to you this year, we certainly will do our best to get to you next year. But it's 100% free.
That's fantastic and so thoughtful. So again, we're just going to close this first part out with another reminder. You can go to hvrenegades.com and follow the tab for the Sensory Safe Suite and sign up and provide some information and get on the waiting list now to do that. So thanks again to Zach Betkowski. We're going to come right back and talk about some upcoming events and some other things that you've got going on with the Renegades. But for now, this is 1 in 44, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, and we'll be right back.
Pass it on. You've heard it said, he's a diamond in the rough. Or maybe, diamonds are forever. Here's something else I've learned about diamonds. They're just pieces of coal put under pressure for a long, long, long time. So when I start feeling like I want to give up, I think about that little piece of coal. And if that piece of coal can make something of itself by not giving up, so can I. Persistence is in you. Pass it on. From PassItOn.com.
And now 1 in 44 continues on 100.7 WHUD. This is a weekly community affairs program presented by the Anderson Center for Autism.
Welcome back to 1 in 44, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, and this morning I'm talking baseball and autism and sensory safe suites and all sorts of things with Zach Betkowski, the director of corporate partnerships with the Hudson Valley Renegades. So Zach, in addition to the Sensory Safe Suite, which we just talked about in the first part of the show, sponsored, of course, by Curemark, which went out of their way to make this accessible to as many families and individuals as possible. You told me when we were talking earlier that there's a way that families can advocate for more of these sensory safe suites on their own. So could you talk a little bit about how families can get involved if they'd like to?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that, not only professional sports stadiums, but really any event venues can have a sensory safe space. And we're starting to see more and more pop up. I've seen airports and I've seen like concert halls and things of that, just other event venues in general, obviously baseball stadiums being one, of course, where they're starting to pop up. And it's super important, because what we're doing for our brand, at least, is we're opening ourselves up to reach more people. And anytime we're limiting that doesn't benefit anybody. Like, we're preventing somebody from experiencing a Renegades game because they don't feel comfortable because it's too loud or too noisy or too crowded. And now we don't have to worry about that because we have a safe option and an alternative option. And I would encourage other venues to open up the space for the exact same reason. And I think really the best way somebody could go about it is just write a letter or an email to your local event venue and just say, hey, here's an article of a team in the Hudson Valley or a team in Brooklyn or a team in Scranton, wherever it may be, that's doing this space and it's working for them because they have a wait list. And, if you just think about the fan base or the customer base you can bring in, if you also had this space, and if enough people do that to the same venues, they'd have no choice but to at least look into it. And, of course, a lot of it comes down to spacing and where do you practically put these things. You can't just find a storage closet anywhere because it needs to be a comfortable sized space. But if venues have the ability to do so, I think the more people that are vocal about it, the more likely it'll become, and it'll be more commonplace.
I agree with you. I think this is one of the places where families and siblings and family friends can come together and to create a really powerful message about accessibility to their communities. And, if you think about it, I mean, there's been a long, long history of first, I think, very purposeful sort of separation, and then a long period of just not too many people really stopping to think about what it takes to make it comfortable and enjoyable for an entire family to go out and do something outside of their home when they have an individual in that family with autism. Anderson has a pretty significant consulting business. We work with venues, we work with businesses to make them autism supportive environments and even autism supportive communities, all in the same vein. And a lot of that was really compelled to begin by families saying, it's great that Anderson exists to serve children and adults with autism, but when we come to visit, we want to do things with our loved one, and we don't feel like we can leave our house because there's stigma, there's, people staring, and families would often tell us that if their loved one, like you said, was just happened to be having a bad day, maybe there was a lead up to a great day, and then just that day it wasn't going well, they were often facing the decision of either, it was only two options: stay and feel terribly uncomfortable, or get up and leave, thereby bringing everyone that you've brought out to this event with you. And that really impacted the entire family. I've talked to siblings who were highly affected by those decisions their families had to make, both understanding but also being frustrated. So I think that this movement of accessibility and along with autism awareness, autism acceptance, and the things that you can do as a parent, but also as anybody in a community, just saying, hey, you should have a space here that makes it possible for more people to come out and enjoy things. I think it's all wonderful. I just wanted to underscore that because so many families and family friends, grandparents, siblings are often wondering what they can do. Writing letters to venues is something that you can do, and it will have an impact.
Even just from us, like the feedback that we've gotten, we've seen so many. We get thank you emails pretty regularly. Thanks, we had a great time at the game. But the emails we're getting from these families, they hit close to home so much more because they're so personal, and they're so thankful for having this opportunity to come out to a game. And I'm not saying that to necessarily toot our own horn, but it's really meaningful. Like when the work that you're doing serves a purpose, a community purpose. And we're finding that these families are eternally grateful for just some of these families. They haven't been to a Renegades game in 20 plus years because they've had this, had someone in their family with autism their whole lives. And they just, the Renegades has just never been an option, nor have any big crowd, events or venues. So exactly. They're coming out to their first game in decades in some cases. And it's truly amazing to see some of the stories and make that kind of impact.
I agree. And you and I have both had the experience of hearing those stories, and it really does stop you in your tracks to realize you kind of know you're doing the right thing. But when you hear that type of, we haven't been out in this long, so you're obviously having a huge impact in the community, and you're being a leader in your community. And I should point that out too, that other businesses, venues from this area in Dutchess County, but all throughout the state and beyond, can take a lesson from what you've done with the Renegades, and just you even picking up the phone and calling Curemark when you realized that they were sponsoring these types of spaces. Again, those are all things that, just if you're listening, these are all things that you also can do, and they really do make a difference for so many families and individual people. On July 16th, you have a special night of baseball coming up. Tell us about that.
Yes, so it's our annual Autism Awareness Night. So we're really looking forward to celebrating that again and having folks come out to the ball game, where it might look and appear a little bit different than your traditional baseball game. The volume of the PA might be turned down a bit, and maybe the brightness of the video board might be, just so that it's a little bit more comfortable for folks that are on the spectrum. So we're looking forward to that night. It's an annual tradition for us. There are post-game fireworks. So, if folks are coming out and maybe the fireworks are a little too overwhelming, you're more than welcome to leave before the fireworks show will start. We'll make sure we communicate the start times and all that with folks. But I imagine, it'll be a fun night out. We're here to create memories. And, again, this is something that we do every year, this Autism Awareness Night. So July 16th, if you are not aware, you can find it on our website. You can buy tickets on hvrenegades.com. or if you pick up a pocket schedule at your local grocery store or restaurant, all the details are there as well.
Fantastic, Zach. Thank you so much for doing that. It's always a fun night, and you've definitely gone out of your way before to support a lot of different ways for Anderson adults and students to participate in that evening, so we appreciate it. Let me just wrap up by saying this has been Zach Betkowski, the Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Hudson Valley Renegades. The website is hvrenegades.com. There you can find out more information about how to reserve your time in the Sensory Safe Suite, which I don't think I mentioned before, or maybe it's worth mentioning again, is easily located by elevator right up to, you said it's Suite 8. So it's literally, you take the elevator and it's right there. Not a whole lot of walking.
Yeah, the elevator basically drops you off at the door. So it's a very easy, quick ride up. And once you're in the suite, it's yours to, kind of intermingle with. And we've gone in a couple times with families that were okay with us paying a visit, and the kids are having a blast. There are balls from the ball pit flying all over the room, and they're just digging themselves a hole in the ball pit and playing with the wall mount puzzles. And it's truly amazing to see. And, maybe we'll have to send some pictures over your way to kind of attach when you post the podcast link.
Yeah. We'll definitely put the links in. And the other cool thing about that is that you're adding things into that space that if you have multiple children, some of whom might be on the spectrum and some of whom are not, you're also providing an opportunity for them to play together and enjoy things together. So I think that that's always also really important, so that it doesn't feel so much like everyone else in the group is accommodating this one person. It's like just an overall fabulous family experience.
Yeah. And if mom and dad want to watch the baseball game and let the kids play, it's in a room where there's windows right to the ball field too. So they can just as easily watch the game and, let the kids kind of play around, and I think everyone will have a great time.
It sounds like a luxury experience and a red carpet elevator ride right to the door. And that I think is going to appeal to a lot of families. Remember, July 16th is Autism Awareness Night, the game for Autism Awareness Night, and look for information for that and tickets on the website. And you said you can pick up a pocket schedule in your local grocery stores?
Yeah, most grocery stores, restaurants, convenience locations have them at this point. If you would like a pocket schedule, you can stop by Dutchess Stadium, and we'd be happy to give you a pocket schedule or a magnet schedule for your refrigerator, and you can get all the details both on the magnet schedule, the pocket schedule, or if you're computer savvy, hvrenegades.com.
Sounds great. So as always, everybody at the Renegades has always been really, really autism friendly, supportive, desiring of learning more, and all the things that you can do. And I just want to thank you on behalf of everyone at Anderson and all the families that I have the chance to interact with. It really does make an impact. What you're doing matters, and it's helping a lot of families just get out and do more things together, which is always a positive thing. So thank you. And please pass that along to all of the people who work there. I've noticed that everybody that we interact with is always really, really accommodating and understanding, friendly, and genuinely happy to be working there. So great job creating a space like that.
We really appreciate it. And there's definitely a team of people here that truly make it happen. So, it's hard to take credit for something that, a handful of people are also involved with, but we're especially thankful to our friends at CureMark for even posing the idea. I don't think we would have ever thought of it had we not seen it elsewhere. I think it's super important though, and I'm glad that we saw it. But I'm really thankful to the folks here on our team that are helping to make it happen as well.
Great. And thank you for coming on today and talking to us about the space and giving us information. I look forward to seeing it in person myself, and many more future opportunities to partner and have fun with the Renegades, between the Renegades and Anderson Center for Autism. Thanks again, Zach.
Absolutely, Eliza. Thanks for having me on.
This is 1 in 44, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, and remember, Anderson cares.
You've been listening to 1 in 44, a weekly presentation of the Anderson Center for Autism. Join us for another edition of the show at this time next weekend.